The search for Flight 370 resumes Monday. Joining me now, Chad Sweet, CEO of the Chertoff Group. Ken Christensen, an expert in satellite technology. He's the president of Integrated Aviation Solutions. His long resume includes time working with NASA and the Department of Homeland Security. And Arnold Carr, president of American Underwater Search and Survey. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us. Chad, let me begin with you. Why, first of all, does it take 4 days for the Chinese to say, oh, we've spotted this, in this place? And why are the pictures so bad?
Well, you have to remember that this is a large area, and they were probably digesting all of that data. The second is they have, over the last 3 years, almost doubled the number of satellites they have, and our own Defense Department is estimating to launch another 100 by 2015. And so they have capabilities that they may be wishing to mask, and so they may have taken time to dumb down the imagery to prevent revealing their full capabilities.
And would the same hold true for any country, that there's technology here that you don't want folks in that region or anywhere else knowing that you have?
That's true, but only of a handful of actors, such as the United States. And if you think about right now, they're trying to attract vast areas of ocean. Our satellites that have this what's called electro-optical capability can look at the surface of the water. We have some sensors that can go below the water to a degree, but they're only going to pass over that area about 10 minutes twice a day. And so you really are betting on hoping that you've got coverage. Most of our capabilities are going to be focused on North Korea, Russia, China, and you can imagine right now with what's going on in the Ukraine, the competition for these resources right now, if you're president, you've got to weigh, do I focus on tanks on the Ukrainian border, or do I really divert assets in this region?
Ken Christensen, next to you, because I know this is also your field of expertise with the satellites. I'm told that a lot of the bad pictures, if you will, are because of the angle of the satellite, that as you get out of sort of the periphery of where it's pointing, you get blurrier and blurrier pictures. I always thought you could turn these things. And how long does that take? And, could it have been done in the past 3 weeks?
Candy, that's an excellent question. And with satellite, if the point of origin is over here and the picture is over here, then you have this angle. So on depending on the resolution, of course, but you can stretch these photos from satellite imagery. So they could look longer than they actually are. You don't know until you get to the very lower resolution, half-meter resolution or less, that real details on these items. And to date, I have not seen anything of the debris field or the proposed debris field that had that kind of detail on it.
And let me just ask you while I have you, I have so many people saying, wait a second, we can read a license plate from those satellites. Something's wrong here. Are we expecting too much?
Yeah, sometimes, yes, you can expecting too much because in the Indian Ocean, where that is, it's just a vast amount of space. And satellites have to be moved or pointed to objective areas to get that detailed imagery. And this might not be an area that some of the owners of these satellites want to point it at. So that could be, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Carr, I just wanted to bring you into this with the equipment that is available right now that are submersibles that could go underwater and maybe help find wreckage. It is my understanding, because of the short amount or the short distances that sonar equipment actually is useful, that you can't put these submersibles into the water right now, since we don't know or even have an idea where the fuselage might be.
That's quite correct. The problem you have is the vast area and the low distance that, like the pinger, can be seen. Even towed equipment low to the water from the air, or even especially in the water, has that problem. If you think of the pinger, think the 1 mile limitation of the pinger when it's active, and think vertically that you are really at about 1 mile or more depth.
So, and when they talk about these underwater vehicles, what are their limitations and what are their strengths? This is also not something you can just plop in there and go looking.
Well, you can use a tethered remote vehicle from a vessel, but or a towed vehicle. But really, when you're getting into the advent of winter in that area, what you really need is something like the AUV, the autonomous underwater vehicle, like the long 12-foot tubes that you do see and have seen, and they can be launched, work independently regardless of the sea state. The biggest problem with them, though, is the recovery, that if you get a too vile sea state, it's very difficult to recover.
Right. And in terms of depths and what, let's say we get a debris field or someplace where we have a pretty good idea that the attached sonar equipment might be able to pick something up. How able is that piece of equipment to pick up precisely a black box or a part of a wing, especially when, as I understand it, that at the bottom of this ocean is a lot of mountains and rolling. There's a lot at the bottom of this ocean. So how specific can that sonar get?
You really need to tow the sonar down near the bottom, up off the bottom, and a rugged bottom, like you mentioned, makes it so much more difficult. The AUVs, the independent vehicles that they would launch, can run for maybe a half a day or a little bit more, and when properly programmed, really cover the bottom. What you're doing here would be like, take the White Mountains. You're looking for a quarter in the White Mountains, a small coin. That's the level of difficulty.
Wow. Every time we talk about what might be the next phase, it sounds more difficult than the current phase we're in. Chad, to you, are you as seemingly convinced as much of the U.S. intelligence community is that this does not have aspects that would lead you to believe terrorism was involved? It was either an equipment failure or a deliberate act by someone in the cockpit?
Actually, no. I think if you look at it on balance, the community is split, and the scenario still does have a probability of having a terrorist beginning, but an accident ending, i.e. something like we saw in United 93, where you start off as a terrorist plot. There's just too many pieces of evidence that point towards an intentional event, i.e. the diversion of the airplane precisely at the scene between air traffic control in Vietnam and Malaysia, the transponders being disabled, and the ACAR system. So what I would ask you to do is, if you look at the flight path, it actually cuts not only exactly at that moment, but it's precisely along the border between Thailand and Malaysia itself. Right. And then you'll notice the two paths that have been analyzed now, one is at 400 knots, one's at 450. The 400 knot path is the preferred path right now, but it does turn and go back to Australia. And I would just note there that there are a number of U.S. bases and other facilities in northern Australia that could be a potential target for terrorism.
Gotcha. And Ken, my last question to you, and that is, let's pretend that we never learn anything more than we know right now. Does aviation change in any way?
I think it will. If you look at just the vast number of assets that are out there now searching for the aircraft and the time, we did not have the data that we needed to look for survivors, if there were survivors, and this in fact is in the Indian Ocean. So I think this incident is going to be a catalyst for improvements in the aviation. For instance, the cockpit voice recorder, instead of doing 2 hours of recording, I think it's with the new flash memory, I think you're going to have the ability to do 13, 15 hours of recording, and that's going to probably be the new standard. As far as the flight data recorder, the flight data that's on there is good, but how does that flight data and the cockpit voice recorder, how do they both communicate autonomous from the aircraft? And I think what you're going to see is a GPS transmitter that just takes GPS information, autonomous, away from the cockpit, and actually transmits it. And so you will have a GPS location. Had we had that on this incident, we would have been able to go directly to the crash site,
Right.
and look for survivors. So I
Right.
think that's going to be the change in the future.
Ken Christensen with Integrated Aviation Solutions, thank you so much. Arnold Carr, American Underwater
Thanks,
Search
Candy.
and Survey, thank you. And of course, Chad Sweet to you,
Quite
CEO and co-founder of the Chertoff Group. Thanks all.
Thank you, Candy.